Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm coming at you with another reading wrap-up video. I do only have 5 books to review and go over today, but for good reason. Over the last couple months, there was one book that really took up my time, and that was The Count of Monte Cristo. It was a beast of a book, probably the longest book I've read, both in terms of page count, font size, and just how dense of a read that it was. So we might as well start there. So we'll start with that one. Let's get into it. All right, so this is my copy of The Count of Monte Cristo. As you can see, it got a little worn and a little stained there as I was reading it because, like I said, I was kind of carrying it around with me everywhere, trying to chip away at this thing. As you can see, it is very thick. It has very small print, if you could see that, and also, I guess the capper was, there was no page breaks. Every chapter ended and started without wasting any page space. So it was one big giant block of text. But getting into the book itself, if you don't know much about this story, it's basically the ultimate revenge story. If you're into that kind of thing, I suggest checking it out. They made a bunch of movies. The most recent one was like in 2000, somewhere around there. And that one is the one I've seen. It's a really good movie. I love the story, which is why I wanted to dive into this to get the full story and the real story. And boy, was there a lot to it. It is crazy. So real quick, it starts with like the ultimate betrayal by, a friend, a coworker, a few other people all coming together for their own reasons to betray Edmond Dantes, our main character, and send him off to prison. They end up telling his loved ones that he was dead, but he was just rotting in this prison. And while he's in prison, he befriends this older man who has a wealth of knowledge, also has the whereabouts to this insane treasure, and he uses his means through this old man to become a very smart individual by learning a lot and learning how to fight. He was an ex-military, so he basically became a very dangerous person in that regard while he was in prison. He ends up getting out and uses his wealth, his newfound wealth, to exact revenge on all the people that wronged him, including his past fiance, who ended up marrying his friend who betrayed him. So like I said, there was a lot of layers to this. The revenge that he takes is to a certain degree. He not only, believe me, if he could have just killed them, that would have been the easy way out for these people, because what he does to them is way worse than death. He basically he infiltrates and ruins their entire lives. So he takes up the persona of the Count of Monte Cristo, grows a little facial hair, so they don't recognize him. They all believe he's dead anyways. So, even though there are some similarities and they may have suspicions, they don't think that this is Edmond Dantes because they were told he was dead. So he infiltrates their lives as the Count of Monte Cristo, like I said, and really just goes on to, whether it was bankrupt certain people or kill off loved ones. He not only attacks the individuals who wronged him, but their families as well. And he believed that everybody should pay for the sins of their fathers or their mothers or anything like that. So he didn't believe that the children and the grandchildren of these people were innocent, which was a pretty extreme take. I understand what they did to him was wrong, but he took it so far that there were points in this book where I was like, who's the real villain here? Like Edmond Dantes or the Count of Monte Cristo he's lost his mind. Like he's drunk with bloodlust, basically trying to get his revenge. He was so in love with the thought of revenge that he couldn't really feel anything else. So just a very interesting book. Like I said, a lot of layers to it, a lot of lessons. Everything does kind of come full circle. He does at some point recognize his wrongs and maybe the point that he did go a little too far, and has a little redeeming quality to it in the end. So yes, The Count of Monte Cristo, very good book, a classic by Dumas, Alexandre Dumas. And like I said, if you want to go at this one, you better carve out some time because it's going to take you a little bit. All right, next up is The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. I absolutely love this book. I know Grady Hendrix can be a little, how do I say it? He can be like a little like popcorn fiction, I guess. They're very easy reads, but they're super entertaining, and he's a page turner. Every book that I've read of his, it's like I just can't put it down. And what more do you want? You don't want to read things that are too heavy all the time. So very entertaining book. It follows a group of basically stay-at-home moms in the suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia, I'm or North Carolina, somewhere around there in that part of the U.S. But yeah, so it's one of those things that if you're into suburbia and anything that's based in suburbia and the mundane life and the routine and everything like that, that kind of gets all touched upon in this book. Adds in the element of the whole vampire thing, and the vampire character was really cool. He was very creepy and very smug and cocky, and just a really good character, a really good villain. So it was an entertaining read. You won't be disappointed if you pick this one up. I would recommend this to anybody. All right, next up, Ready Player 2, Ernest Cline. All right, I was really excited for this. Well, first off, I didn't think there needed to be a sequel. Ready Player 1, awesome book. One of the better books I read in 2020. I was excited when I heard this was coming out, just for the fact that I liked the first one so much, and it would be great to revisit it. I didn't hold out high hopes because, number one, Armada by Ernest Cline was terrible, and I couldn't believe how bad that was in comparison to Ready Player 1. And then when I started reading this, I was getting those Armada vibes, and I was thinking to myself, uh-oh, like, here we go again. Now, it was okay. Once it got going, it was a little slow, but once it got going, it was okay. The references and the nostalgia to this one, I guess you've got to be into it. There was a whole section on Prince. I don't know the artist formerly known as Prince. I don't know a whole lot about him. I didn't listen to his music, so I couldn't relate to that. There was a whole section on John Hughes movies, the director from the 80s, like 16 Candles, Breakfast Club, all those movies. I'm a huge fan of John Hughes' movies and 80s movies, so I was into that. So like I said, there were certain elements of the book that I liked, but there were also certain parts that, it just wasn't for me. And I feel like everybody's kind of going to have that feeling, because if you couldn't relate to what the references were, then you kind of, things were kind of going over your head. So overall, it was okay. If you read Ready Player 1, I think you owe it to yourself to read this one, even though it's not going to blow you away. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how I can sum this one up, as just okay. All right, next up, I pulled out a Dan Simmons novel, Song of Cali. I'm really going to make an effort to read quite a bit of Dan Simmons this year, because I do have all his books, and I have a whole bunch of them left to read. So decided to pull this one out because it's a shorter novel, and it's one of his earlier ones, and I have heard good things about it. Now, this novel, in a nutshell, it frustrated me. I can't really give much away because I'd be spoiling it, but the best way to put it is that I was super frustrated. It's funny how I reviewed The Count of Monte Cristo in this video, and now we come to this one, because it's kind of the complete opposite. The Count of Monte Cristo was the ultimate revenge story, whereas this is kind of someone gets wronged in a very bad way, and he has an opportunity to exact revenge, but he decides to take the high road, which I don't agree with. I'm the type of person that could be very spiteful, and if someone wronged me and did what they did in this book, what happened to our character here, there's just no way I'm walking away from that and taking the high road. You'd have to read it to know what I'm talking about. I was super frustrated. It was really dark. And yeah, it basically, it takes place in Calcutta, India. And Dan Simmons must have had a bad experience in Calcutta at some point of his life, because he basically just rips apart the city the entire book. It takes you to the slums of India and really everything like that, and just gets into, you know, a lot of like religious cults and things of that nature. So like I said, it's pretty dark, some pretty crazy stuff. Pretty good read though, if you want to be entertained and you're into what I've just described. You should check it out. I think it did win the World Fantasy Award, as it says right there. I'm not sure why. I wouldn't really consider this fantasy. I definitely consider it more horror. But yeah, Song of Cali, it was pretty good, but prepare to be a little bit upset. All right, and last up for this reading wrap-up is Children of Dune, the third book in the Dune series. So I decided to pick this one back up. I'm now 3 out of the 6 in. So the original Dune, I absolutely loved. It was a great novel. Dune Messiah, the second book, I did not enjoy. That's why I kind of put it on the shelf, the series on the shelf for a little bit. But I did hear it gets better as it goes, and I did like Children of Dune. I thought it got the series back on track. Did a great job of kind of wrapping up, I guess, the first element of the series now, because a lot of the same characters were in the first 3 books. But now I've read that as we move on to book 4, it kind of jumps way ahead in time. So you start, I guess, getting new characters and off to like a new era. So I thought they did a good job of everything coming full circle at the end of this one. And yeah, I mean, don't really have much else to say about it. It's if you know anything about Dune, it's much of the same stuff. You know, heavy science fiction, a lot of you know, cool fight scenes and technology and things like that. So if you're into that, definitely check it out. The entire series as a whole has been really good. So I'm excited to continue it. I'm excited that I've gotten it back on the rails for myself. My interest is back into this series. And yeah, so we'll hopefully get to read the 4th book, hopefully next month or in the next couple months. So I'm going to keep this one going. All right. Thanks for watching my video. If you watched it this far, I really do appreciate it. If you like this kind of content, if you like reading wrap-up videos, if you like collection videos, I do a lot of book collection videos. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, and we'll keep making them for you. Talk to you guys soon.